Madam, there is a story. There is a story.
Well, what story should we tell? Maybe something from the scriptures.
Perhaps from the Chaitanya Charitamrita?
I know what would be a perfect story.
Let us begin then. Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtana.
Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Thara Pravatana.
Taha Pravartaila Tumi Eita Pramana.
Krishna Shakti Dhara Tumi Ite Nahi Aana.
The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it.
Purport. The true Acharya, spiritual master of the entire world, must be considered an incarnation of Krishna's mercy. Indeed, he is personally embracing Krishna. He is therefore the spiritual master of all the varnas and all the ashrams, since he is understood to be the most advanced devotee. He is called Paramahamsa Thakura. CC Antya-lila 7:11-12.
Sri Advaita Acharya appeared sometime before Lord Chaitanya. He found the world devoid of devotional service to Krishna. Seeing everyone engaged in materialistic activity, the Acharya felt great compassion and began to consider what he could do for the people's benefit. He thought,
if Sri Krishna were to appear as an incarnation, he himself could preach devotion by his personal example. In this age of Kali, there is no religion other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But how in this age will the Lord appear as an incarnation? I shall worship Krishna in a purified state of mind. I shall constantly petition him in humbleness. My name, Advaita, will be fitting if I am able to induce Krishna to inaugurate the movement of the chanting of the holy name.
Thus, the Lord decided to advent disguised as his own devotee and teach pure devotional service by practicing it himself. Accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, appeared in Nadia some 500 years ago. The Lord thought,
my name is Vishvambar, one who maintains the entire universe. Its meaning will be actualized if I can fill the whole universe with love of Godhead.
Thinking in this way, he accepted the duty of a planter and began to grow a garden in Navadvip. Thus, the Lord brought the desired tree of devotional service to this earth and became its gardener. He sowed the seed and sprinkled upon it the water of his will. As a big fig tree bears fruits all over its body, each part of the tree of devotional service bore fruit. All the wealth in the three worlds cannot equal the value of one such nectarian fruit of devotional service.
The transcendental gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed handful after handful of fruit in all directions, and when the poor, hungry people ate the fruit, the gardener smiled with great pleasure. CC Adilila 9:7, 9:25, 9:28, 9:30.
so eager was the Lord to distribute the fruits of love of God that he expressed transcendental anxiety, feeling that these foods would not be distributed widely enough. He said,
I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone. And still I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. If the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and thus all people will glorify my name with great pleasure.
Hearing the Lord's words, his followers worked with unlimited enthusiasm. Under the Lord's direction, they broke open the storehouse of love of God and distributed the fruits without consideration of who was fit or unfit to receive them. They personally ate the fruit and induced whomever they met to do the same. But they met with opposition. Kali Yuga was progressing.
Time passed, and the number of conditioned souls evading the Lord's net of mercy increased. As the 19th century headed to a close, the brilliant moonbeams of Lord Chaitanya's mercy seemed all but eclipsed by the sinister Kali. Numerous Sahajya, insincere pretenders groups proliferated, shadows of the glorious Sankirtan parties of the past. Only the appearance of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur saved the situation. He re-established Lord Chaitanya's movement, then placed it in the hands of his faithful son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who expanded it to every corner of India.
Alas, no sooner had these two empowered persons left this earthly world than the mission again faltered. Their efforts to organize a dynamic movement were nearly undone. Instead of working in a united way, their followers split into factions and the movement lost its momentum. Kali's followers rejoiced. Having created 2 world wars, they seized control over the world and plundered her resources. Even India, the bastion of religion, discarded her spiritual destiny in favor of temporal objectives. As the materialists gained strength, the devotees seemed to lose theirs.
The unconquerable forward march of Srila Saraswati Thakura's legions ground to halt, jeopardizing the legacy of Srila Bhaktivedanta. Timely ringing of the temple bells and the full belly became the new measure of success. Lord Chaitanya's prophecy of a worldwide Sankirtana movement seemed no more than a wishful dream, the fanciful words of some medieval poet.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat amongst his closest associates, appearing like a full moon amidst a starry firmament. He had stopped their dance of ecstasy to consider the plight of his Sankirtan movement. They heard Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's report of their mission's stagnation. The Lord's eyes welled with tears. He had come to benefit the whole world, not just to change a few. Srila Bhaktivinoda interjected.
You have made so many disciples. Will none of them dare to cross the ocean?
A few have, but they returned unsuccessfully. The Yavanas are in control everywhere, even in India.
Tears washed the Lord's golden cheeks. He turned to Namacharya Haridas Thakur.
My dear Haridas, what about your promise? You said the holy name would deliver everyone. Now it seems not even a semblance of the holy name remains.
Haridas stared downcast as all the Lord's associates felt the burden of his concern. Haridas Thakur finally took courage.
My Lord, you know everything, so what can we say? Although you are the master of all, you willingly place yourself under your Yogamaya potency, who causes forgetfulness. With this apparent human frailty, you draw us ever closer. My dear Lord, everyone knows you recently emptied the universe by delivering the conditioned souls. Then again, you filled it up. If you like, you can easily deliver the conditioned souls time after time, but you prefer to have your devotee take the credit by performing this miraculous task. My Lord, may I therefore remind you that some time ago, knowing Kali's influence would spread, you dispatched your dearest devotee, the servant of Saraswati Goswami, to earth. He is busy preparing himself at that very place where Srila Rupa Goswami once performed his bhajan. My Lord, surely you know this, and so does Rupa Goswami. Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who predicted his coming, and of course his son Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati are also well aware. Perhaps due to humility, none will remind you. My Lord, may your anxiety be vanquished, for the deliverance of the world is near at hand.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu turned to Rupa Goswami.
What do you know of this?
My Lord, that which Haridas Thakur has said is true. He is speaking of Sri Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, the humble servant and true follower of Srimad Saraswati Goswami. Night and day, he tirelessly translates Srimad Bhagavatam into the language of the Yavanas.
The Lord's imploring glance induced Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to finally speak.
He is following the instruction I gave him at our first meeting. I told him to preach your Lordship's message all over the world. I repeated this to him at Radhakund 10 years later, and reconfirmed it by letter just before my departure. That order is now ripe for fulfillment. But my Lord knows all of this, for it is you who actually made all the arrangements. It was you who arranged his birth in a pure aristocratic Vaishnav family. By the time you sent him to me, his father Gauramahan Dey had already impressed upon him all the essential elements of your mission. I only needed to stress the importance of publishing literature to command him to spread your movement worldwide. Then your Lordship did what you alone can do. Through fortune and happiness were his destiny. You made his business fail, and his family attachments evaporate. Sensing your Lordship's intention, I appeared repeatedly in his dreams and ordered him to take sannyas. Now humanity is his family, and its resources are his inherited wealth. He is fearlessly reposed at your lotus feet and awaits your final command.
Waves of enthusiasm swept away the Lord's anxiety. He turned to Lord Nityananda and embraced him strongly. Sri Nityananda Ram at once jumped up and began to dance so forcefully that the ground beneath his lotus feet shook. Others rose to join, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade them be patient while he calmed his brother's ecstasy. When Lord Nityananda again became peaceful, Lord Chaitanya asked him to sit beside him. Then, looking at his circle of intimate associates, the Lord requested each to bestow the unconditional mercy upon the best servant of Saraswati Goswami.
Lord Chaitanya called first upon Sri Advaita Acharya, saying that the Acharya was such a great personality that Lord Krishna would surely fulfill his prayers. The exalted Sri Advaita, the incarnation of both Lord Mahavishnu and Lord Shiva, and the shelter for all conditioned souls, offered the first benediction.
My Lord, since you are not scheduled to appear again until Brahma's next day, countless jivas will have to suffer endless births awaiting your next appearance. I cannot bear this. Therefore I pray to you now, empower Saraswati Goswami's able disciple to deliver them on your behalf.
All the assembled devotees roared with approval. The Lord looked lovingly at Sri Gadadhara Pandita, his personified pleasure potency. Sri Gadadhara responded appropriately.
Who can understand the Lord's and his devotees' reciprocal exchanges? When old age prevented my worship of beloved Gopinath, he sat down to receive my garlands and other services. Those who claim the deity is stone are themselves stone-hearted. May my Lord melt the hearts of those stone-like jivas by your loving dealings with Sri Abhay Charanaravinda.
Then the Lord turned to Srivas Thakur, the incarnation of Sri Narad Muni. Srivas Thakur took his cue and pronounced,
As you have enabled me to travel everywhere to preach your glories, please give him this same facility. Give him the key to every city of the world and to each and every heart that dwells therein.
The circle of confidential associates beamed with joy.
Bhattacharya, you are expert in the 6 philosophies. What boon will you grant?
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya confidently replied, drawing joyous approval from all,
that he drives impersonalism and voidism from the face of this earth.
Sri Ramananda Raya offered his blessings next.
May you speak through his lips as you spoke through mine. May you allow him to reveal the most confidential truth concerning the spontaneous devotional service of the residents of Vrindavan.
The Lord turned to Thakur Haridas.
Namacharya, your blessing is most important of all. Which boon will you bestow on my fearless servitor?
Haridas Thakur replied without hesitation.
The power to give your pure holy name to everyone, no matter how lowly or fallen they may be.
Lord Chaitanya surveyed his dearest followers, the 6 Goswamis. Srila Sanatana Goswami was the first to speak.
He will carry Vrindavan Dham wherever he goes. He will establish the standard behavior of a Vaishnava by his words and deeds.
Srila Rupa Goswami promised.
His Sankirtan activities will churn the ocean of bhakti, producing a nectarian beverage which will intoxicate the entire world.
Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami said,
Srimad Bhagavatam is our life and soul. We never tire of hearing its narration. When I recite the Bhagavatam, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan derive such pleasure that they insist I sing every verse in 3 different tunes. Therefore, when Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami causes the Bhagavatam to be sung in every language of the world, who can imagine how much pleasure it will give the Lord and his associates?
Srila Raghunath Das Goswami said,
My Lord, you saved me from the dark well of household life. but your departure left me burning in the fire of separation. Since you also delivered Bhaktivedanta Swami in much the same way, may that same bittersweet mood of separation for your lotus feet always burn within his heart as well.
Srila Jiva Goswami said,
His books will establish the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva as the preeminent philosophical position.
Srila Gopala Bhatta Goswami said,
He will establish the worship of Sri Vigraha on every continent, in every nation, and in every town and village of the world.
After hearing from the 6 Goswamis, the Lord turned to the best of poets. Sri Kaviraj Goswami said,
May he arrange to have your Lordship's pastimes, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, glorified in every human language of the world.
Lord Chaitanya looked at the golden form of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, the embodiment of his prema.
Narottam, what blessing will you bestow?
Thakur Narottam vowed,
Love for your lotus feet and for the lotus feet of the divine couple will color his thoughts, words and deeds. He will spread the Sankirtan movement with the same energy with which you empowered Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Prabhu and myself.
Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura was seated by his side.
Abhay Charanaravinda has been studying my 10th Canto Bhagavatam commentary for decades, and the wonderful pastimes of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna are constantly appearing in his heart. May his presentation of these pastimes for the general populace be so suitable that it removes the disease of lust which now affects their hearts.
Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan said,
As Lord Govinda Deva dictated my Vedanta Sutra commentary, may the Lord similarly sit by his side and dictate his Bhaktivedanta purports.
Then Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ensured that Saraswati Goswami's disciple would always maintain the infinite humility required to serve the Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who had previously rescued the mission single-handedly, prayed,
May my great-grand disciple be granted the strength and skill to organize the Sankirtan movement on a worldwide scale.
Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj blessed his foremost grand disciple with his own spirit of renunciation, born out of his unlimited love for Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. He blessed him to remain detached even amidst unlimited opulence.
At last, after everyone had spoken, Lord Chaitanya turned to Sri Nityananda Prabhu.
You are my elder brother, and I fully depend upon you. You are the spiritual master of all the worlds and the upholder of all the universes. The blessings which these confidential associates have bestowed are beyond any mortal person's ability to hold. Never before has such an assembly of personalities bestowed such unlimited blessings upon a single person. Now, I am asking you to give the servant of Saraswati Goswami the required strength to sustain these blessings. For without your empowerment, it will be impossible.
Sri Nityananda Prabhu smiled broadly, then nodded his head affirmatively, drawing a great roar of
Haribol! Haribol!
I will infuse his mission with my own personal energy. I will personally support his temples, ashrams, conveyances, in fact, every aspect of his and his followers' mission. Due to my presence, Nothing will check the progress of this movement.
The joyous response to Sri Nityananda's decree was deafening. The august assembly appeared to have lost their gravity. As they tried to estimate the effect of Lord Nityananda's mercy, their minds became boggled. Some cried, others laughed, and pandemonium would have broken out had Lord Chaitanya not suddenly noticed Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami.
Oh? Have you escaped without giving a blessing?
The Lord smiled at his secretary's silence.
Come now, tell us, what will it be?
Sri Swarupa Damodara Goswami, whose transcendental intelligence was no less than that of the Lord himself, would not be drowned in it.
When Nityananda Prabhu has made such a promise, there's nothing more for anyone to do. No, I'm not holding back, but someone amongst us is.
Everyone looked puzzled, for they had all given bones. They had no idea who he was referring to. Then, at last Advaita Acharya understood.
My lord, you have proven once again your supreme intelligence. That great person Swarup Damodar is referring to is none other than you. You have made each of us give our blessings, all, that is, except for yourself. What value are our blessings if you do not add yours?
Everyone waited with bated breath to hear Lord's response. The Lord remained silent, contemplating the Acharya's words. Then, at last, he who is ever bound to his devotees' words soberly declared,
So be it. I shall personally enter the heart of my dearest devotee and unfailingly guide his every thought, word and deed. My mission to bestow Prema Bhakti throughout the Sankirtan movement will thus be fulfilled.
With this promise, he sealed destiny. It was more than the devotees could tolerate. Led by the indomitable Lord Nityananda, they sprang up with abundant joy and began a performance of Sankirtan, whose vibrations reached the far corners of the universe. Accompanied by their associates, servants, and confidential companions, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda danced with such abandon that the storehouse of love of God broke open, and the nectar liquid of Prema Bhakti once again began to flood the universe.
The ship Jaladuta, tossed by the Atlantic waves, seemed to sway to the rhythmic kirtan of the Lord Gauranga and his associates. On board, Sri Srimad Abhay Charan Bhaktivedanta Swami, the recipient of the rarest mercy ever bestowed, wrote the following poem.
Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is the great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. So, by his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, in all the cities, towns and villages on the earth. From all the oceans, seas, rivers and springs, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava desire is then fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I am very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all.
The kirtan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates continued on and on without end. The Jaladuta plied forward until it reached Boston Harbor. As Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami's lotus feet touched western soil for the first time, he prayed,
Oh Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like.
Lotus feet giving me such shelter. Lotus hands brush my tears away. Lotus eyes soothing my broken heart. You rescue me from my endless pain. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Vande Guru Shri Charanavindam, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Gangara Parasha.